It's funny. We were off the air just talking, and you were giving me a hard time about years ago going, are you going to write, can you write a song? It's not about heaven. So I believe that this song is the complete opposite. It's about living. It's about being alive. You know, I started writing it about a year ago, and it was all about identity in Christ. There's a line in there that says, driving 35 with a rocket inside, didn't know what I had. That was all about just when you realize that the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells inside of you 24 hours a day. When you realize that that's really true, everything changes. I always say it's like having the Batman utility belt around your waist and never looking down and realizing it. And so the song started there, like, man, it's we have reason to live and reason to run after things. And what the irony, I guess, is that I was walking through this journey with a friend of mine named Gary Miracle for years about the whole identity in Christ. Gary is our first merch guy 20 something years ago.
Yep. And
we've been friends forever. And so we had this ongoing conversation about just books I was reading, and ever since Welcome to the New, just talking about what is this whole grace and identity thing. So it's been ongoing. Well, not knowing where it was going to take us, Gary, got really sick a year ago, last December, went into the doctors. They told he had the flu. I found out he had strep that was never checked. And then the fourth time he came in, it went septic. And sadly, it was a strep that a couple of days of antibiotics to be back at work. But because they missed it, his body started shutting down. He went on to life support. And 100 and something days later, he woke up and his arms and legs had to be amputated. And so sadly, because of the pandemic, we didn't really we walked with that journey with him from a distance. And one of our last shows was in Florida, and Robbie and Mike had a chance to go up to the hospital and see him right before it all shut down. And so I started writing. The song just took on a different perspective. I started writing it really, I don't know, maybe not, because I wrote it with Gary in mind, because the conversations we were having for a long time, but this all changed. And I started becoming this person like, man, don't take things for granted. Just the fact that I can hold a glass of water or whatever, just really hit me. And then I started seeing Gary's outlook when he was coming out of this, and just his sense of humor and how he's like, man, I just don't want it to be in vain. I hope that the story impacts somebody. And so that's where the song kind of takes a turn to where it becomes more almost like a sense of, the whole idea of Say I Won't, the title is almost a defiance. Like, I dare you to tell me I can't do this.
Yes.
And so that's where it kind of turned, where it was like, to watch someone with no arms putting on these new prosthetics saying, I can do all things in Christ, and him singing it is powerful. And so I had this idea. So I called, I was like, hey dude, it may be too soon, but what do you think about this? And he just started sobbing, and he was like, this is what we've been praying for, is we want people to know the story. And so one of the things he told me was, man, I would love to see, just to know that people are impacted by what I'm going through.
I got to see it early. And I pride myself on trying to keep it together as often as I can. I try not to cry. It's because I'm not a Demi Moore kind of crier. Yeah. I'm an ugly sob. My nose gets red and runny. My eyes look like I've been hit in the face multiple times. And so I really do try to avoid crying hard.
Right.
And I remember sitting there watching this and realizing first what it was about. And I knew it was Gary, and I was just like, oh no. And about midways into it, I am ugly crying. I'm ugly crying. And I finished it, and my husband was sitting right there, and he goes, are you okay? And the first thing I said was, I'm so proud of them. And it was from my heart, because I've just never been impacted by one of your songs this way. And I love so much of what you guys have done. Maybe like half. There you go. Good.
It's fair.
But this one, it made me feel like I remember being 5 and 6 years old, and somebody telling me I couldn't do something. And it was like, say I won't. No, I'm going to do this thing. And to see Gary putting on the prosthetics, to see that joy, and to understand that this is still going to be a rough walk, but he's not alone. Oh, there's a lot of people that I'm sure in your career, in my career, our lives, that have said, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. Right. You're not going to be able to do that. And you go, say I won't. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Say I won't. I think this is going to be an amazing gift to a lot of people, my friend, and I'm so glad that we could connect. And I'm going to share this with everybody.
Say I